Stickman wakes up tired, even though he technically slept 8 full hours. And he lies there, staring at the ceiling, wondering if his mattress secretly attended a meeting where it decided not to support him anymore. Because, despite doing everything right, his body feels like it ran a marathon in his dreams without informing him. He blames work at first, because work is convenient to blame, but then he remembers that yesterday was not particularly stressful. No wild emergencies, no dramatic life events, just a normal day. And yet his brain feels foggy, and his body feels heavy like gravity has quietly increased overnight without filing any official paperwork. What Stickman does not realize is that exhaustion in modern life is rarely about one big dramatic cause, and more often about tiny invisible leaks that drain energy slowly throughout the day until the body quietly waves a white flag. Take sleep, for example. Stickman thinks 8 hours means good sleep, but sleep is not just about duration, it is about quality. And if he spends his last hour before bed scrolling through bright screens, stimulating his brain with endless novelty, and slightly stressing himself with random information, his nervous system never fully powers down, which means his body lies still while his brain continues running background updates like a phone that refuses to enter airplane mode. Then there is stress, the quiet kind that does not feel dramatic enough to complain about, the low-grade pressure of deadlines, notifications, social expectations, and constant digital noise, which keeps cortisol slightly elevated all day long so that even when Stickman is sitting still, his nervous system behaves as if something might jump out of the bushes at any moment, which would be useful if he lived in the wilderness, but is less helpful when he is simply trying to answer emails. Add to this the modern habit of sitting for hours without movement, which slows circulation and reduces oxygen flow to the brain just enough to make thinking feel heavier than it should. And suddenly, Stickman is tired not because he worked too hard, but because his body never fully recovered from doing almost nothing. Even his food plays a role, because quick sugar spikes, followed by energy crashes, send his brain on a small roller coaster several times a day, creating the illusion of productivity, followed by the emotional experience of hitting a wall, which he interprets as laziness, even though it is really biology asking for stability. The strange part is that none of these factors alone seem dramatic enough to cause burnout, but together they form a perfect storm of subtle exhaustion, the kind that does not look impressive from the outside, but feels very real on the inside. So Stickman searches for motivation, drinks more coffee, promises to push through, and wonders why he still feels drained, not realizing that his body is not asking for more stimulation, but for better recovery, more consistent rhythms, real rest instead of distracted rest, and small movements that remind it that it is alive rather than paused. Because the truth is that modern exhaustion is rarely about weakness, and almost always about imbalance. And once Stickman understands that his fatigue is not a personal failure, but a systems issue, he stops fighting himself and starts adjusting the system, which surprisingly requires less drama and more awareness. And that is the moment when Stickman finally stops accusing his mattress of betrayal and begins to realize that his energy was never missing. It was just being quietly spent in places he never thought to look.